Hey, good afternoon. This is Peter at the Burkle Farm. Just out doing chores and moving waters, and I thought I'd just try to talk about a few things. You can see the sheep are up on a hill. I've something about sheep. They love being at the highest spot they can get to. But because I was a little bit busy and I had a kind of a mangled bale, I decided to unroll it here, and I'm actually kind of excited to see how this goes. The You can see you can see that they left quite a bit, and there's some waste in there. But um, you know, I figure if I'm wasting 10 to 20% of the bale, I think I'd be all right with that. And there's some here, like this bit of the last roll. We can just throw that in. Somebody will eat it. But this ground over here needs the help, and I'm deeply encouraged just by unrolling that one bale what that all looked like. But in this section here, you can see we got bare. It's just not in good shape. So all of those bales and those bales are going to be unrolled from here to here over the course of the winter. And I think that's going to really do this a lot of good. And you can see I have some weedy bare patches up here, and that's why there's bales there. Is we're going to unroll on top of that and give that ground something else to grow besides weeds. I don't mind a few weeds, but if the sheep won't eat them, they really are weeds. And so you can see here, this was bare soil, and now we got a nice covering for it. And I'll see if I can get down in here and look. If you look here, there's all these different seeds that are coming out of that hay, and that is what we want. And that one bale, I spread it out all over the place, and they went after it. And we got about 4 days of grazing, so I'd just unroll a little and then come out again. And I had to hold them in this part for about 4 days while they ate through the bale. But I expect that the whole bale grazing thing, switching to that, will be a lot easier as I grow this flock to the point where they can eat a bale in a day. And I know maybe someday, I don't know, I don't want to talk foolishness, but I know that Greg Judy says he doesn't really feed his sheep hay, and that will be the ideal I'll shoot for. But we're just not there yet with the condition of the farm, and we live in Minnesota. It's different. Everybody's circumstances are different, but it's something to shoot for. So these guys are all looking content and happy. You can see the cattle are laying down. But we're going to graze up the field and then down here. And then there's some grazing over there. And then we're done. We're out. The drought has really shut the grass down quite a bit, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. Anyhow, that's my thought for there. And I know I have a couple other things to look at as I go through my chores today. All right. So I want to just tell a little story, something that happened to me recently at work. So I work from home for a pretty big company, and we were pulled into a meeting just with our director just to ask how things were going, and somehow the conversation tilted towards cost of living and how crazy things are right now, and that sort of vein of thing. And then from there it specified further, and people were talking about how much food costs. And I guess I made a face, because my boss, she said, well, hey, what's the smirk? And I said, well, I haven't bought groceries really in years. And then so I kind of explained how we had a farm, and it's not a very well kept, I'm not keeping it a secret or anything from work. And I just I was amazed, because I said, for everyone who's talking about paying $8 or $9 for a tube of that pink slime ground beef, why don't you go find a farmer near you and work something out. I said I bet they would appreciate the money straight up, and they'd get a bigger cut of it, and you would probably end up coming out ahead, and the beef would be better. And I got a lot of nods around that, so I was feeling encouraged. And then someone said, and I kid you not, well, how do you find a farmer? And I said, well, there's a lot of people out there advertising. You could also just go out into the countryside for a minute and look to see who has cattle. And even if they can't help you, they'd probably be able to point you to someone nearby who had something for sale. And then even further was this idea of, somebody said, well, how do you know what a good farmer is? How do you know what they're raising is good? And I kind of told them, well, a rule of thumb is if they're not willing to show you around their place, I'd probably stay away. And I got some pretty good feedback on that, and people said, well, I never thought about that before. And then I had somebody kind of made a comment which was kind of like, why would you be doing farming? You got this job. And I just kind of shrugged it off because it wasn't the right forum to get into it. But it stuck with me for the last couple days that people don't even realize that I would prefer to do this full time over working the job that allows us to build up this business. But a lot of people don't see the health of this kind of living, or the beauty of this kind of living, and all they see is the hard work and the bad weather and the strain and the sweat and all of that. And it just made me a little sad, I guess. And on one level, it made me a little sad that nobody knows what they're missing. On the other hand, I'm kind of glad, because if I had to compete with everyone else for this type of thing, I don't know if I'd make it. But yeah, so for anybody who's saying, well, I'd like to get something good to eat, my guess is now, with the price of things being driven by fuel prices more than they are commodity prices, this would be the time to establish a relationship with a local farmer, and they would get a bigger piece of the retail dollar from you, and you might even come out ahead. I mean, maybe, I don't know. But I was just fascinated by that, the string of questions. How do you find a farmer? And then how do you know if they're a good farmer? And I mean, those are complicated questions, but the easiest ones for me are high visibility. And then it popped into my head to talk about that today while I'm doing my chores, because I'm constantly picking up little bits of garbage, like people are going to come and look at my place. And I've had a few, there's no doubt, but I try to have my farm look like I'm giving tours, even if I'm not, because it's better. I mean, it's annoying and it's more work, but I try to put things away and keep garbage off the farm and not let anything stack up and look bad, and just keep things relatively orderly, because in the end, I would expect that if I was going to enter into a relationship with a farmer to buy food from them, I would want to look at their operation. And so I need to be able to have my farm in such a way that I would be happy to show this to anybody. And I think I am. But, the food thing is interesting right now. And it occurred to me also that I haven't really felt the full effects of our economic situation, because I don't really buy food. Ann and I make most of our food, or grow most of our food. And I guess we buy milk and cheese because we don't make cheese. Maybe we should, but I even stopped buying beer because it's so expensive. So now we make our own. It's not that hard. But yeah, just the thought for today is self-sufficiency and self-reliance doesn't necessarily mean you have to do everything. But if you work with real people around you together as a community, you can be really self-sufficient. Like if I really needed milk and there was no milk on the shelf in the grocery, I'd go to a nearby guy who has dairy and work something out, and take care of it. But so if you're wondering what to do with the food prices the way they are, I'd bet you $10 a Sunday you could find a better deal for better food for less money if you go out and find a farmer, and there'll be more money in their pocket too. So that's my thought for today. It's super gloomy. Winter's coming. It's cold. I'm going to go inside. Oh, have a good day.